bra before we started?
I did. It's like I was prepping myself like why do I want to say nunchucks? That's not the word I'm looking for.
Like nunchucks.
No, suspenders. Oh my god. My brain was like, nope, the proper word that you want to say is nunchucks. That's not it at all. Okay, so this is going to be a juicy episode. Mostly because I think that there's like, first off, we live in a country where every state is like a little country and has different rules. So things get kind of convoluted. Our main advice as coaches that we always give is get a lawyer. Talk to someone legal in your area, in your state that knows the law. But before we dive into that, we have a really incredible new hairdresser hotline submission. And for those of you that want to submit your questions, because we get them all the time, so we're flooding through them, which is great. The number is 201-564-5007. Text us, call us. We're not going to answer. We're not going to respond, but you are giving us your consent by texting us or calling us or leaving a voicemail to read it on the air.
We will keep it anonymous.
We will, unless you like shout my name out, which we've had a couple people be like, you know. So a couple things. I'm going to go into this from our most recent submission. This was a good one. I was like, we can't pass this up. Like, we have to talk about this because this was a big thing that was happening in California and where everyone got confused and started saying commission salons are illegal. So let me read it and then everything will kind of make sense. Hey there, friends. So I'm curious what your thoughts are about a salon operating as a commission salon, but the stylists are 1099s. Oof. I currently work in a salon like this, and the general issues are mostly that taxes are going to be horrible because we aren't getting a W-2 like most commission stylists. And our paychecks are so small that we don't have enough to live and to save for taxes as well. Also, I found that the owner is struggling with wanting to treat the stylists like employees, control over booking, time, pricing. But since we are 1099, technically, we are independent contractors, so we should be allowed to move as such. But instead, we are treated like children who have to ask for permission for everything. Thoughts? I have so many thoughts.
There's a lot to unpack.
I have so many thoughts. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to just dive into it?
Dive in.
Okay. So I want to talk about some legalities first before we and again, disclaimer, we are not lawyers, but salons, it is illegal. I'm actually going to read you an excerpt. In the US, it is generally considered illegal for salons to pay 1099 independent contractors a commission if the salon exercises significant control over how they work. This is because independent contractors, unlike employees, are supposed to have a high degree of autonomy over their schedule, tools, clients, and work methods. Paying an independent contractor a commission can be seen as an indicator of control over their work and could violate IRS and Department of Labor guidelines regarding employee misclassification. If contractors are paid in this way and treated as employees, they could be reclassified as employees, which comes with legal implications, including fines and back taxes, which would be more on the salon owner and not you, my precious stylist.
Right.
Because why would you know? And this is why we talk about how important it is to be W-2 and how commission is one of the most fairest ways to be paid if paid correctly. We see this happen a lot with salons where they're giving too low of a commissions. It's not livable, where they have all these back bar charges. Then we have seen other salons that are running just like this, where they're like, you're a 1099. They say employee, but it's not a thing.
I've worked for salons like this.
Yes. And then they also try to micromanage your schedule, your pricing. There's no autonomy. If you are under the 1099 rule, you should be able to run your own business within their business within that chair. And that's the thing that people get confused of because they're like, oh, this is also a commission salon. And honestly, caller, because we don't know your name, I don't know how you and the other stylists are surviving if someone is cutting into your pay via commission and then you're still having to pay taxes on top of that.
Self-employment taxes.
Yeah. I mean, my mind is blown. I'm like, how is it possible?
So, but what people have to understand is that you can be a 1099 hairdresser.
Absolutely. In
when
a
you
salon.
in a salon. But when you get paid commission, it's also not really the commission part that's that big of a deal. It's the control over what the employee does. So for example,
Mhm.
in this person's message to us, she mentioned that she has to ask for time off, she has to get things approved, she has to do all these things. And the reality is that yes, like there we have to live in a big picture world, right? Because
Mhm.
laws, you know, there's a lot of nuanced things. So for example, like of course, you've got to when you take time off, there's got to be some sort of communication. I mean, yes, of course. Now, if you are being paid like an independent contractor and you are paying self-employment tax, but you are told what to wear, when to show up, and what your responsibilities are as an employee, then you are an employee, which is W-2. And I think what happens here is that nobody wants to pay employment tax. Employment tax is a lot for salons, but this is why salons are unsustainable when they break the rules because they have some dipshit running their accounting who isn't taking their bit. This is the salon owner. The salon owner is not being taken seriously by the accountant, whoever this
We have seen
accountant
this
is.
happen so many times as coaches, and we are like, you need to get a new accountant. They are not it's almost like some accountants will find and think that, oh, this isn't going to be profitable, or they're
They think it's
shocked when they find out.
helping. They
Yeah.
think they think they're helping salon owners by helping them not pay taxes, but really they're digging our industry deeper into a hole. I'm not
Hmm.
even blaming the salon owner in this situation because if the salon owner is being told by an accountant that doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't respect them,
Yep.
then I feel bad because the salon owner is probably like, I was told this was the best way to do it. Now, if the salon owner knows better, then shame on them. But no, if you're a 1099, you don't yes, you have to be respectful and follow the guidelines of the contract that you signed, but you do not have to you're not an employee who should be handed new type of work and new type of rules all the time.
Hmm.
So for example, an independent contractor can wear whatever they want. Does that mean that they can come to work naked? No. They can technically create their own schedule. Does that mean that they can show up late to an appointment? No. So there's a lot of nuance that I think people don't like talking about. Like, well, I can show up whenever I want. Well, yes and no.
Hmm.
There's still a contract when you're an independent contractor. It's just that what is happening here is that everyone's trying to get around paying taxes, and you and I have talked about this for years. That trying to get around paying taxes is the worst way to build a business and then
Yeah.
run a business. It'll run it right into the ground. And this is why most commission salons don't have a long lifespan because they don't do things properly. They do things reactively. So, on one hand, the person who's messaging us is correct that, it feels wrong because it's wrong. But on the other hand, you know, not when you are 1099 and you agreed to get paid that way, you also have to take personal responsibility of being like, yeah, I worked here because I worked here. It was 1099. I knew that going into it, and I still went in, right?
Hmm.
So you can't go into a situation knowing it's 1099 and then say, I don't think this is right because
Yeah.
you signed up to do that. Yes, it's still wrong. The salon owner needs to fix it, but I just think like you know, a lot of times the problem is people love being 1099 because they don't have to pay quote unquote taxes up front.
Hmm.
It's when they realize that they have to pay it afterward that they all of a sudden villainize the salon owner.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that's what this person's doing, but that happens quite a bit. People like 1099 because they get more money up front. And then they get pissed off when they realize, oh no, you owe all that money now on the back end plus a self employment tax,
Yeah.
right? I Yeah, it's a yes and situation. Yes,
It
it's
is.
wrong. Yes, it's wrong. Should you take the salon owner to court and press charges and try? No, I don't think you should do that.
Maybe
Should you
just find a
find?
different job.
Yeah, should you find a different salon? Yes. Should you, if you want to stay at a place that's 1099, if let's say you go to a booth rental salon or a suite, it's not 1099 because you're not working for someone else, but you're still self-employed. It's the same type of
Hmm.
taxation. So there's just a lot to think about. And I think salons, I don't always blame the salon owner because I think salons are, who's telling the salon owner this?
It's tricky.
The
Yeah,
dipshit accountant.
exactly. I think a couple things, right? Like traditionally in a correct manner, a um going into a rental salon, they would be contracted 1099 and there would be some freedoms. Like you said, there would be like, okay, I expect all of you to clean up after yourself. I expect the
Yeah, these
stations
are
to look good. Yeah,
contractual
this is part
things.
of exactly like, when you leave the space, but like
When I
you're
rent
running
a
your own
if I
schedule.
if I rent an apartment, I can't destroy it.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So there's those things. And then historically, commission salons have always been W 2. Where we run into problems is when we try to, for example, commission salons are doing W 2. That's great. But maybe the salon owner can't afford to pay the taxes. There's so many reasons. They're not hiring enough. The prices are too low. Their expenses are too high. And then they start doing like, I'm going to take away commissions, which makes it unlivable. And then they're going to start adding on all these back bar fees. And then we start to get in this like really big pickle, right? But technically, that commission salon as a W 2 employee has every right to treat you as an employee when it comes to managing your schedule, doing all of these things, right?
Mhm.
And then we have our booth rental salons or rental salons that are then try to, micromanage the situation and kind of blur the lines. And I think that's where we have to be really clear with boundaries because then we look in the middle of a DTH salon that we do say your commission, your W-2, but we are offering some of the freedoms. So we've blurred the two together, which is so great. But legally, there's boundaries involved. Like you have freedom, but my boundary is A, B, and C, right? Like you're not bringing in your own color line. You're not doing ABC. And that's part of being a W-2 employee is
Right.
the salon owner still has that control. But I think what happens too is a lot of salon owners open out of, we've talked about this before. Maybe they were handed the salon, there was reactivity. I just want to open because I want to get away from my current space and not really knowing how to do it. And then they're like, I don't want to be a boss. So they're like, I'm going to do 1099. And then it turns into this thing of like, there's no consistency. You know what I mean? Like everything's kind of
Yeah.
all over the place.
Well, I mean, the idea that you open a salon and then you say I don't like leading or being a boss, then don't open a salon.
I don't care
Because
if you're a rental salon or you're still responsible for people. Like,
everyone's like, I don't like managing people. That's life is about
mhm,
managing people, right? Like even if you don't own a business, you're still
mhm.
managing, right? And I think you may not be good at it, but learning how to do that, that's something you can learn.
Yeah.
But just opening a salon because you don't like your boss and they did it wrong, just to do it wrong again, seems a little redundant and seems to be what our industry does. And I think, on the flip side of this, there are so many rental salons that do have 1099 employees and they're doing it incorrectly because they're giving their 1099 employees or their renters um, like they're providing all the product and providing all the colors.
Yes.
They're providing a front desk. And these things you don't provide when you have all contractors. And if you're out there and you own a salon where you provide all these things and you have all contractors, you're not making the money that you're not making
That
money.
you could.
You're barely, I know people are barely making it when they do rental, and it really shows up. The rental, owning a rental salon really shows up when you stop doing hair because that's still such a huge part of your income.
Mhm.
And you can't really make more than what the ceiling of rent will allow, right? And I think that's such a big thing that like kind of goes untalked about. Everybody wants to provide for their teams. Everybody wants to do all these things, and then it cuts into profit. So a lot of people are, in my opinion,
Mhm.
misclassified in our industry. And if you work with an accountant that does not take you seriously, they will automatically misclassify you and tell you they're doing you a favor.
Mhm.
And it'll feel like they're doing you a favor because you will feel like you're making more money up front. And then the end of the year will come and they will tell you how much you owe and you will shit your pants.
We had an accountant like that they were just like
Oh my God.
they were constantly trying to find like the ways and the loopholes. And I'm not saying that's not great. Like, I mean, that's part of their job is to find where you can save money.
There are
But
ways.
absolutely. But I'm always looking at, I'm like, you're more worried about this versus like legally, I know that I have to pay taxes. I know that it's expensive to run a business. I want an accountant to talk to me about like my profit and loss. I want someone to be talking about your expenses are too high. Like you have taxes to pay, you have A, B, and C. So I really think like if I could give this person advice, I would definitely say for anyone listening, like do your research. I mean, everything out there is Googleable, like
Googleable.
Googleable. And talk to your lawyers, like talk to someone in that realm. Like we have an accountant that we were like, we need an accountant to work with hairdressers.
Yep.
And now she works with all of our students all over the country. She's incredible. And it helps because she knows our industry. She knows, especially for our students, how DTH salons are run. And so that she's
And
really
she
trying to be
takes us
like,
seriously.
she takes us seriously. And that's important because I've had to coach people out of like, you need to find a different accountant. The
I
fact
spoke
that they're telling you that is crazy.
I spoke to her recently and she was like, we were talking about DTH salons, and she's like, I work with so many people in the DTH program and so many people outside of it. And she goes, the difference is that DTH salons are profitable and other salons are not.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work to get your taxation right because we have been doing it wrong for so long. The salon industry has been skirting by for so long, and it just isn't, it's not worth it. Your business will thank you for setting things up properly. So if you work for someone doing it wrong, you're not really at fault. But if you know it's wrong, I would take your own accounting seriously. So if you do work for someone and it's 1099, you need to have an accountant that's like, basically 30% of everything you make needs to go to taxes, and you need to do it yourself proactively because the government's not taking it out of your paycheck, and people don't realize that. So again,
Yep.
yes, we can be mad at the salon owner, but at the end of the day, we're all personally responsible for our own decisions. And that's where we have, don't blame someone else because you didn't know about your own taxation. Um, and also when you do go to open your own space, make sure you are playing by the rules of capitalism, because if you play by the rules, it'll benefit you in the end. It'll feel like shit in the beginning,
Hmm.
but it will really benefit you in the end. But I see this happen all the time, and I think it's slowly changing.
I do too.
DTH. So there are times even in DTH salons where even our accountant will tell Kat, the accountant for all the DTH students, she'll say, you do need to do 1099 for a few months. Like there's no way that
You
you need
can't
to do.
afford
You can't
taxes.
even
Yeah.
afford to do W-2. But that also means we have to look at how much control over you have over your staff. So you can do this. The commission salon owner can do 1099. You just have to look at all the legalities behind it. And yes, you can still be 1099 and get paid commission. Those two things are not necessarily. It's just that commission can make it kind of murky. But
Hmm.
a lot of people, broke real estate agents, they're usually 1099 and they also get paid commissions. So you can do it, but brokers also make their own schedule, have their own client list. Like, so you have to make sure you're following those rules. There's
And
not,
every state's different. So
and
like
every state's different.
that's where you have to look at like, we were talking about legalities recently. And we were talking about removal of front desk, and like Pennsylvania requires you to have a not necessarily a front desk, but a checkout reception area. So like
Stupid.
you have to know like these legalities because especially like yes, there's loopholes like that reception area could just be like a tablet in the corner, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's like it's so important, and we cannot stress this enough. And we always say like we are coaches, but like you need to get this legal answer. So we're pushing our students of like you need to talk to a lawyer, book a consult,
Yeah.
like start doing your research. Like we don't know the laws of every single state. At this point, we know a lot of the laws in most states. I will say
Right.
that. But that is not our job description, and your friend is not that job description, and you're
Your uncle who
yeah, like
is a retired
even this
accountant also doesn't know
yes.
that. You've got
And
to
so
work with someone who takes you seriously, and I recommend a neutral party. And if you want to learn more about the DTH account, you can actually go to salondifferently.com
Mhm.
slash financial services, and you can book a call with Kat. Her name is Catalina Chu. Um, and so if you need help, she does work with people. It doesn't matter what state you're in. If you're a Canadian student, she can't work with you, but or if you're a
We
Canadian
are trying to
listener,
find someone.
but we are I think we have someone in the wings for
Hmm.
that might be coming soon. But again, it's don't get caught in what's illegal and what's legal. Get caught in what works for me and what did I work out with my accountant and what did my lawyer tell me. And that's how you got to take that advice. Do not listen to other hairdressers who go, "Oh, that's illegal."
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do that. Don't listen to hairdressers telling you those things. Listen to the people that are helping you build your business, not the
Yeah.
people who are just reactive about something they heard. It's very important.
I mean, it's we see it in California all the time of commission's illegal, and then everyone
Not.
believes commission's legal, and that's not the case. But there are nuances, there are rules, there are requirements, and that might not be in your wheelhouse because it's expensive.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and we've
Just
done
because you
lots of
can't afford to do something doesn't make it illegal.
exactly. And I think that's where things get convoluted. And so that's where we really have to start saying of like, I hear what you're saying, but like I'm gonna do my own research. I'm gonna talk to my own board of people to really figure out the answer that I need because I want to make the most profit. But as far as the caller, I really hope you make a wise decision. And I hope that the salon makes a wise decision. Because I hate to see any salon suffer or go under for such a silly reason that could be fixed pretty quickly. So
Yeah, and take personal responsibility. If you were hired as a 1099 employee and then you didn't know much about it and then you realized it wasn't in your favor, that's not on the salon owner. That's on
mm-mm.
you. So dig into that personal responsibility. Ask the questions from the right people. Reach out to us. We can point you in the right direction. But the only way out of things is personal responsibility. Blame doesn't. It's not going to get you very far. And again, I'm not saying that's what this person's doing, but I just know that in our industry, that's kind of how hairdressers go about things. I mean, I love blaming people. Blaming people is my favorite pastime, but try not
It's
to.
easier that way than taking
Yeah,
responsibility, right?
exactly. So, but I hope this helps. I hope this helps a lot of people because I know this comes up a lot, even in our discovery calls with prospective students and with current students. So,
Mhm.
good luck to all of you out there that are navigating the 1099 W-2 world. I know it's a choose your own adventure at this point.